Bună, m-am logat eu înainte ca să și-l aștept pe domnul doctor și verific în același timp să meargă totul bine pe grup, să se logheze lumea, să ajungă live-ul pe grup. Dacă, am observat că durează de multe ori destul de mult ca să ajungă live-ul pe newsfeed-ul la cât mai mulți membri și de multe ori chiar contează foarte mult cât interacționați la început, dacă comentați, dacă dați like, dacă participați la discuțiile din comentarii, pentru că astfel se propagă mai ușor live-ul și celorlalți membri, algoritmul Facebook, că nu ține de noi și am observat că se loghează tot mai multă lume spre finalul live-ului, când încep întrebările deja, adică spre sfârșit, ca să zic așa. Domnul doctor va apărea imediat în live. Și ce vreau să zic e că da, vom pregăti și niște premii surpriză, bineînțeles produse Altruist. Încă oscilez între a vă acorda vouă posibilitatea să vă alegeți 3 preferate sau 3 produse pe care doriți să le testați și n-ați apucat să le testați de la Altruist versus un set prestabilit. Dar eu zic să comentați voi să ne comunicați în comentarii ce preferați. Preferați un premiu prestabilit din cele mai populare produse Altruist sau preferați un premiu personalizat să vă alegeți voi produsele? Să încerc să verific și comentariile între timp. Cum ziceam, vă încurajez să puneți întrebări legate de gama de produse existentă, să aduceți comentarii cu privire la îmbunătățiri și ce v-ați dori să mai lanseze Altruist în următorul an. Știu că în fiecare an facem polul ăsta, dar după cum ați văzut, cel puțin o parte din recomandările și atenționările voastre au fost luate în seamă. De fapt, atenționările noastre, pentru că noi suntem un grup cumva special pentru Altruist, se consultă cu dorințele și cu sugestiile noastre, tocmai pentru că știu că noi chiar ne dorim să cumpărăm și să folosim produsele lor și suntem a doua piață de desfacere după UK. Iar noi credem în filozofia lor de produs formulat corect din punct de vedere chimic și eficient, dar și la un preț mai prietenos cu buzunarul decât media produselor cosmetice, ca să zic așa. Bună, Andra! Live-ul rămâne salvat pe grup la secțiunea live și îl vom redistribui noi cu hashtag-urile altruist, SPF și așa mai departe, ca să îl puteți găsi mai ușor. Da. La ora 8 o să intre și domnul doctor live. Cum ziceam, vă rog să votați în comentarii ce premii vă doriți. Vă doriți un premiu pe stabilit de la Altruist, cele mai populare produse, sau vă doriți un premiu la alegere să testați voi ceva ce v-ați dorit până acum să folosiți, dar n-ați apucat, sau produse pe care știți sigur că vă plac și doriți să le mai aveți încă o dată. O să aleg fie la finalul live-ului, fie mâine, O să hotărăsc în funcție de uh, cât, care este varianta majoritară. Acum nu o să se supere, sper, una că vom alege cealaltă, dar până la urmă este ocazie să testați niște produse pe care ori voi, ori membrii familiei, pentru că și chestia asta cu testarea sau cu produse care ni se potrivesc, ați văzut că unii membri sau unii apropiați tolerează anumite produse pe care nouă nu ne plac din anumite motive și invers. Așa că dacă ție neapărat nu-ți place un produs altruist, poate poți să-l folosești pe gât, pe corp, pe mâini sau poți să-l dai soțului sau copiilor și să-l folosească și ei, fără probleme. Aștept comentariile voastre, deci. Cine ce dorește? Ina, pardon. Ina, te-am botezat. Tu ce ai vrea să testezi de la Altruist? Sau dacă știu sigur că tu ai testat majoritatea produselor, ce s-ar plăcea să vezi de la Altruist mai uh, în viitorul apropiat, în următorul an? Ce s-ar plăcea să vezi lansat? Aștept în comentarii, din nou, ce premiu vă doriți la finalul live-ului. Fie premiul la alegere, produse preferate Altruist sau produse pe care ați dori să le testați, sau un set prestabilit cele mai populare produse Altruist. Hello.
Good evening. Hello.
Hi, Dr. Andrew. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very well. Thanks very much. Hopefully you can all hear me too.
I can hear you just fine. I will ask everyone who's online right now to leave a message and tell us if they can hear us properly. Hopefully, technology is on our side tonight, and we can we can have a smooth live, because lately Facebook has been just insane with everything, at least when it comes to live. But anyway, I'm really happy you accepted our invitation to join us live tonight. I know it's been a while, and people are excited to see you and to be able to hear your answers tonight. So thank you again very much, and hopefully it won't take longer than an hour to get through all the questions and any updates regarding Altruist and any new products.
Sure. Well, I'll do my best to answer questions, and you can try and be nice to me at the same time.
I was just tempted to say I won't promise, because people have been very excited and also curious to ask a lot of questions. Some of them are, I wouldn't say repetitive, but some issues come around from time to time, especially regarding UV filters and so on. But also questions regarding like future launches for Altruist, or I don't know, specific products such as the anti-redness that people want to see, I don't know, for different skin types, something along those lines. So maybe I hope you aren't as tired as a crazy Monday would have you be sometimes.
No, it's fine. Look, I'll do my best. As you probably know, I don't have the answers to everything, but I'll do my best to answer honestly and also with as much information as I can. But at the same time, as you know, I don't have the answers to everything, but I'll try not to answer like a politician too.
I appreciate your honesty, and it's refreshing, really. I will start with maybe a general question. If you can tell me how you see Altruist so far in terms of how it's evolved, how you see it I know, evolving on the Romanian market, like a general overview of Altruist, just a couple of words.
Sure. Well, I mean, when I started Altruist with David, I don't think we had any idea as to how big it would grow. It's grown well beyond anything I could have imagined. Yeah, I mean, overall, if you look at the big picture, it's a fantastic success, and we've grown enormously. We overall get really fabulous feedback, and I think we're, taking big steps towards our mission, which was to basically allow people to use high quality sunscreen, um, remove the barriers to the use of sunscreen, and as a result, reduce the incidence of skin cancer.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's going to take many years before we see any changes in that, and it will be very, very difficult to genuinely measure. But an overall picture is that it is incredibly successful, and I'm really, beyond, really surprised, if you like, at how successful
yeah,
it's been. Of course, there have been challenges, and I think that the more successful you are, the more likely you are to come across issues and problems. And
yeah.
you know, it's been this year in particular. This sort of the start of the summer season was probably the most stressful it's been, given the issues that you no doubt want to talk about at some point. We're having to reformulate things, the challenges with supply chains. It's been really hard, and actually, yeah, I mean, there have been times when both David and I questioned whether we really wanted to be involved in doing it, because it's been really difficult. But actually, we went to the annual British Association of Dermatologists annual meeting last month, or end of June, I think it was. Um,
Yeah.
and there we met, there's probably about 1,000 dermatologists from a mixture of the UK and Europe predominantly that were there. And we met a large proportion of them, and the feedback that we had from them was so wonderful. I mean, we shared with them how it's been a stressful time over the last few months, because it's just been so hard. And the overwhelming feedback from everyone was, "What you're doing is amazing. You're doing great stuff. Please carry
Keep
on.
doing it.
You're
Yeah.
really good." I mean, so it was a huge confidence boost that we are, despite the various issues that we faced, overwhelmingly we have got great support from people, and people still really like what we're doing. So it was very encouraging.
I join their support, and in saying that, also as a consumer as well, I've used Altruist all throughout this year, but especially during the summer, and I've prevented burns and the unwanted tans because that's I will ask you a question about that later. But anyway, as a consumer, but also as a cosmetologist that has been involved with many derms and estheticians over the last few years, and I've seen Altruist in their clinics without, I mean, products that haven't been sent to them. They researched, they saw that people were using it, and they bought it and they used it, and now are using it on their clients, on their patients, in sessions in clinics, like post procedure, post laser, whatnot, but also recommending it as a general everyday moisturizer with sun protection, or so to speak, sun protection with moisturizing factors in it. And almost exclusively they have purchased the products themselves because of all the hype, and have become fans on their own. So it's really nice to enter a doctor's clinic, or and to see an Altruist product there, on the top shelf, waiting, um, being used with such confidence by top doctors in our country, that also promote some protection behavior, some protection products that are well formulated, tested, etc. So doctors that are, in my opinion, really up to date with what needs to be done in terms of education, patient education, really, and patient communication in all throughout the year, not just summer. So yes, Altruist is basically everywhere. Actually, I was really happy to see that Altruist is now in one of the biggest supermarket chains in Romania, and that just goes to show that people really really want it and want to use it and want to have it close by and available everywhere, which is something that personally I'm turning 35 in a couple months, right? And I've been through the stages where no one's ever heard of sunscreen, the stages where you use olive oil instead of sun protection, to the point where I use sun protection every day of the year for the last 5 or 6 years now. So for me to see such a well formulated, such a well tested and ethical brand to be available to such a large audience is just in Romania, where there is no sun protection, where and up until a couple of years ago there wasn't much sun protection talk, like sunblock, sun cream, or something, were things that you only, scarcely applied uh, a few days during your summer holiday, just so that you didn't burn like popcorn, right? But not to actually use it properly. So there was no sun protection mentality, so to speak. So to see it now in such a wide variety of shops, pharmacies, online shops, medical offices is just mind blowing to me. And I really have to give it to Altruist in this respect, because you have actually broken so many barriers in Eastern Europe, in terms of how important sun protection is. And I just congratulations for that. I wanted to say, because I think in my world, in my books, it's a huge success how widely available the brand is.
Well,
It's
thank you
just,
so much, and I'm sure that's partly down to you and your enthusiasm, and the people who have logged on as well. Your enthusiasm of telling other people. So thank you. And you asked initially that the response in Romania, and my reflections on that. And I don't think I've done a live with you since like the autumn last year, and
yeah.
I went to the European Academy of Dermatology and Venereology meeting, the EADV, which is the main dermatology meeting in Europe that takes place each year. And this was in Milan. And we had an Altruist stand there. And it was actually amazing, the feedback from the Romanian dermatologists. I would say 75% of them already knew of Altruist and were genuinely excited to meet me. They were like, please, can I have an Instagram picture and I'll put it on my feed and things. And it was
Yeah.
lovely. So well done well done you for sharing the knowledge and the love of Altruist. It's down to people like you that makes us a success. So thank you.
It's I would have to agree in terms of I don't know, being happy to share my opinion and my experience with a product. But and yes, people reach out to us. People listen to our opinion. I don't know what they do with our opinion in the end. That's their prerogative, but they listen, right? But at the end of the day, in my books, what determines the quality of a product. Like, I could say anything about the product, any good, bad, a mixture of things, neutrals or whatever. But at the end of the day, if the product is good, if the product performs, right, it sells itself, right? It only needs to be available, because that's what I was telling Bio Beauty, for example, our closest collaborator, that I just need Altruist to be available. People just need to use it once, and they they will feel the quality, they will see how well it absorbs, how it doesn't leave a white cast, not to mention how you don't burn or tan, how the difference between the fluid, for example, and the cream. And I'm really excited about the non-SPF range of Altruist as well. So that's what I say. At the end of the day, if a patient or a consumer or a doctor or anyone just has a chance to, or gives Altruist one chance, uh, there's not much. There's not many bad things that could be, or huge disappointments they could have about the brand such as Altruist, in my opinion. So it's easy to promote a super product. It's easy to promote it, in my opinion. So there you go. But I would continue and to ask you about maybe if you want to go in a little bit of detail about the non SPF part as well, because we don't want to overlook that.
Sure. I mean, it seemed to be a natural progression from the sunscreen range to produce dermatologist specification products for skin health, essentially. And skin health isn't only about skin cancer.
Yeah.
And as a dermatologist, I see an awful lot of people who have just generally a bit dry skin. And it's often people don't notice that their skin is dry until they start presenting with itch or a little bit of eczema and so on. And that especially happens as they get older. And typically happens more in the winter than the summer because the air is drier, people have got central heating. But increasingly, if people have got air conditioning, they're noticing it in the summer as well because the air is dried out by the air conditioning. And so I wanted to have a really good moisturizing product for people that they can use, once a day or twice a day, depending on how much they need it, after a shower or bath. And we produced the moisturizing or the dry skin repair cream initially, which is the one with 10% urea in. And urea is one of the key moisturizing factors that you have in your skin and is a really effective product in a moisturizer. And not many products on the market have it. I mean, there's a Eucerin product which has it, the 10% urea lotion. But this, I think, is actually a nicer product. It goes on, and I don't have terribly dry skin, but I can use this as my moisturizer after a shower, and I find it's really quite an effective product. Some people said it was a little bit oily or a bit too greasy for their liking, and that's perhaps people who've got slightly more oily skin or who haven't got at all dry skin. And so then did the moisturizing body lotion, which is a 6% urea. So that's a lighter formulation, still has great moisturizing effect. But I have to say, the feedback I've had from both of those products has been astonishing. You've had people who will say, I've got this skin disorder that my skin's a bit dry and flaky and cracked. And they're like, do I need to see my doctor? So, well, just try using the dry skin repair cream first. And they'll use that for a week. And they're like, it's amazing. It's a miracle cream. It's actually cured me. And I've not even needed to use a steroid. So, I mean, the feedback has been really fabulous for that. And I'd say, particularly the dry skin repair cream is one of the products that I'm really excited about. I think it's a really, really nice product. And I guess what you might call your typical cosmetic purchasers don't necessarily think of a cream like that. But as a dermatologist, it is a really, really good quality product. It's a really effective moisturizer. So I really like that. Other products, again, in that same sort of line of the dry skin, is the hand repair cream, which is a new product this autumn. And again, that's got 10% urea, and it's a much greasier product. And you only need a tiny amount each time you put it on. But anyone who's got a tendency to dry hands, and again, classically people who wash their hands a lot, you can get the irritant contact dermatitis where you get the dry skin between your finger webs if you're working hard and doing cleaning, or just if you wash your hands a lot. Just a small dab of that after every hand wash can really transform your hands and really help. And again, the feedback we've had from particularly nurses, because nurses are the people who are classically have that issue, has been really positive. Again, if someone has got no problems with their hands at all, they might find it's a bit greasy if they put too much on. But actually, my wife, who doesn't particularly have any problems with her hands and is quite fussy, she likes it as well. She'll use a little bit of that too. So
I
That's the
think
sort of
people overuse, or apply a lot more than they should, and that's where a lot of the "it's too much, it's too greasy" feedbacks come from. I think they, in their attempt to lather themselves up in a product, because that's what you see on social media. They, they should be applying less, I think, and maybe on
yeah.
damp skin.
I don't. It doesn't. I think you can dry yourself properly first. I would always
Yeah,
think, and then put it on. You can put it onto recently dried skin, but you're best off doing it straight after the shower or hand wash, so you'll get the most effect that way.
yeah,
And another product which I like, because I have got slight sort of what you might call normal to slightly oily skin, is the face wash as well, the foaming face wash, and that's
yeah,
got 2% salicylic acid in. I think if you've got sort of more drier skin, you'll find that's too harsh for your skin. But I really like the cleansing effects that it has for me. I mean, if I compare it to the CeraVe cleanser for normal to dry skin, if I use
yeah,
that product, I find I don't feel like it's cleaned my skin. It doesn't, it feels like I've just rubbed something on my face and my face is a bit oily. Whereas if I use the Altruist one, it genuinely feels like it's cleaned my skin because it's got the salicylic acid in it, will cleanse the pores as well, and should
yeah,
hopefully, people who are prone to spots or acne as well should hopefully get a benefit from using that.
yeah.
Um,
I will get back to, because there are some questions, but we'll get back to it if that's okay with you.
Yes, of course. And then the other product which I really like is the moisturizing fluid, which is the one with the 0.5% hyaluronic acid. That again is, I think, such a lovely, light but effective moisturizer. You put it on in the evening after, if I've washed with the 2% salicylic acid foam, I'll put that on before, if I go before going to bed, for instance. And the next morning, it still feels like my skin's moisturized. And that, I think, is partly due to the excellent formulation. But the key is with the type of the hyaluronic acid that's in it, because it's got low molecular weight hyaluronic acid. And so that will actually penetrate a little bit deeper into the epidermis and therefore help draw the moisture into it. And hence it makes it feel more moisturized and the skin a little bit more plumped. A lot of products will say they've got hyaluronic acid in, but actually there'll be a higher molecular weight, which actually just sits on the surface of the skin, and all it will do is potentially just draw moisture out of your skin rather than actually bring it in. And so, yeah, I think that's another really nice product as well.
If you don't mind me maybe slightly interrupting you, but there's someone who asked a very interesting question. Andrea Ivan is asking if in the future you are thinking of maybe formulating a denser, more rich formulation for a face cream, something for dry, sensitive skin. Even though, in my opinion, every skin type can benefit from the moisturizing fluid. I think it's a valid question. Something, we take, for example, the lotion, the urea lotion versus the cream. Like, so I think something like that. She's meaning to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the everybody has preferences as to what they like or don't like. I mean, I would say that for the majority of people, the moisturizing, the face moisturizer with the hyaluronic acid would be absolutely perfect. However, I can imagine that if you have genuinely got eczema, so you have dry, flaky skin, beyond what you might call normal,
Yeah,
outside of the normal range, and you've actually got a skin disease, then I can appreciate you might want to have something that's a little bit oilier or richer. And so, of course, as we develop products, then I think it's not impossible that we would produce something that was a little bit richer. Um, I generally don't advise using the 10% urea cream on the face because it is, again, a bit too rich. But that we have had feedback from people who have used it because they've
yeah,
got skin problems, and they've again been very positive about it. So if our questioner has got an active eczema, she's got eczema or psoriasis, she's got an actual skin problem, then you may well be able to use one of either the 10% or the 6% urea on the face, and actually that might give you that positive effect that you're after. But certainly it's something we can bear in mind for the future in another product that we could use or
Yeah. I'm thinking, from the feedback on the Facebook group, there are a lot of people that have eczema or psoriasis, or an active diagnostic in terms of skin problems. But there are also like people with mature or maturing skin, like 50 plus. I think, this is my own input on her question, but mine would be, if you would consider like a face cream for mature skin that maybe has an extra ingredient that you wouldn't find necessarily in your general good for all face moisturizer, maybe a specific antioxidant or anything of that sort of nature.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. That's perhaps a better way of looking at it, actually, rather than doing it for someone who's got genuine eczema. And you're right. I think as you get older, a lot of people are, yeah, particularly women, find that their skin does change. And my wife's been educating me on female hormones a lot over the last few months
Exactly.
and years. So yeah, the concept. Yeah, I don't want to say it's becoming popular, but talking about the menopause is actually much, much more common now than it was 10 years or even 5 years ago. And I think
It
the
really
awareness.
is. I can attest to that on our group. A lot of talk about perimenopausal skin, and it's really a hot topic.
Mm, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you could almost say, being opportunistic, there is a marketing opportunity there to sell things to women. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to take on board. Thank you.
Yeah. I would think I would speak for most of the women who use Altruist, and not only women, people with aging skin, people with maturing skin. They wouldn't mind, spending their money on a brand that is ethical, that actually sources their ingredients right, that invests time in formulating something correctly, as opposed to maybe falling into the hype of marketing and social media, where usually you're being sold a big fat lie. Myself, I would rather pay Altruist money to give me a face moisturizer with some antioxidants that, of course, at the end of the day, it doesn't bring a whole new face. You won't wake up with a new face. We get that. We will still emphasize realistic effects. Doesn't matter what Altruist comes up with next, right? But I think people want to support a brand such as Altruist. My advice to you is to look at it a little bit that way, from that perspective. People want to support a truthful brand, a small brand that strives for better, in like give the people what they want, because the people actually, they know deep inside, or that the social media marketing campaigns and the TV commercials and whatnot, they're a lie. They pick up a face cream or a face serum, usually out of because someone said that it's nice, or because they like the commercial, or the music is nice, or visually it's attractive. But at the end of the day, they like to come back to the ingredients list. If they really care about their skin, and the money they put into their skincare, they will look at the ingredients, and what the manufacturer, what the brand behind the product is telling them, that what they should expect from that product. And Altruist, I think, has made it their mission to tell people the truth about how they should use their skincare, and what they should expect from it. So, I'm I hope this has cemented even more the idea that people want the skincare range expanded, because they believe in your ethos and your way of thinking and producing and formulating, because this is the type of product that there is a large number of people that will continue to use it on a daily basis. It's not a hype product, right? And it goes hand in hand with what sunscreen does besides preventing burns and skin cancer, right? It has a huge anti-aging benefit at the end of the day. And I know you, maybe as a man, are not really that invested in preventing every wrinkle that you can get or every sunspot possible, but many women are and many men are, and why not pair something as strong as an anti-aging product as an SPF with face cream that's for, not necessarily for mature skin, but for maturing, because at some point after 25-30 years, you know you know better than me the signs of photo aging that appear even with regular SPF use. A little boost won't hurt anyone.
No,
I
no,
think they would agree.
absolutely, yeah.
I have another question, because I can see people have been really generous with their questions. So I will translate them better instead of me coming up with them. Yes, Annie is asking whether Altruist has a serum on your future product list. She would like to see something maybe with vitamin C or niacinamide, like some. I know niacinamide is present in the antioxidant fluid, but I think this connects to the previous question, sort of like an additional boosting product.
Mm. It's something that we have talked about in the over the time when we're sort of talking about what products we might do next and so on. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like in our first range of things like a vitamin C serum, because I mean, things to consider here is that one, it's a really challenging product to formulate, and two, I'm at the moment I still am regarding Altruist as a dermatologist brand rather than a cosmetic brand. If you see what we're saying, I can see it will be a natural step in that direction. However, I mean, I guess, there is a very good serum out there. I mean, the Geek and Gorgeous serum actually is very affordable and is about 1/10 of the price of the L'Oreal version. So I mean,
It's a fan favorite here, so people are going crazy over it.
So I mean, if there's already something that is out there that's doing the job, and there's no way we'd be able to make it cheaper, I wouldn't have thought. So why do something that's not necessary at this point? Is what I
Yeah.
would say. I mean, and I was at the recent dermatology meeting that we had in this country. Just ironically, our stand was next to the L'Oreal stand, so we were able to say, look at the difference in the price and in our products, which was quite nice. But they did have they'd broken up into all their different brands, and there was a SkinCeuticals one. And out of interest, I looked at how much it costs to buy one of those little bots of their vitamin C. So it was about £160.
A kidney, yeah. It's insane.
And it's unbelievable. And I said to the guy, I said, how can you justify selling it at this price? It's absolutely bonkers. But yeah, so I think, doing a serum is easily something that could happen one day. But I think at the moment we're trying to sort of fill the gap where we see that there is the need, rather than just producing a range just for the sake of it.
Yeah. When it comes to this, I think you're right, and I would side with you on this one. Because people are, as I said, they pick up products on a whim, or because they are visually enticed on the spot, but they don't think about it long term. And I think it's nice, and speaks volumes about you and your brand, that you would recommend a different brand that has a great formulation, because they work under their same ethos as you, like well formulated, and something that is actually beneficial, not just the hype and not just some exotic extract that doesn't have any science behind it, right? And I think that at the end of the day, if one of the Altruist products that is so well loved, like the fluid, the antioxidant fluid, that already has some vitamin E and some niacinamide in it, and also some hyaluronic acid, some glycerin, and stellar UVA, UVB protection. Why would you need a serum that encompasses the same things without the SPF, right? Just use the SPF that already has all those extra benefits. And I think that just goes to show that at the end of the day, achieving good skin health and a nice skin appearance doesn't imply using so many steps. You can achieve it by using lesser steps with intention, in my opinion.
Well, certainly, and I guess had we have known, I'm probably more than 10 years older than you, but had I have known that wearing sunscreen every day would have been a good idea when I was younger, then I'm sure I would have looked younger than I do now. But I was outdoors most of my childhood and teens, and I probably only started wearing sunscreen daily, certainly through the summer months, from the age of about 30, when I started training in dermatology. I was like, oh, maybe it'd be a good idea. But before then, I didn't bother. But like most other people, would have put it on if I was knew I was gonna spend all day outside, or was gonna go
Yeah.
to the beach or something like that. But I think that if you speak to any dermatologist and they say what's the best beauty secret, it's got to be wear sunscreen. Well, actually, maybe I would also say don't smoke as well, but that's less of
Yeah.
an issue nowadays. But certainly not smoking and wearing SPF every day from March till October is probably the key,
At least, yeah.
the key thing.
I would agree. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Someone, Diana, is asking if you are looking at developing an SPF powder, and I leave it to you.
I think the simple answer at the moment is no. And I think you'll probably won't. It's very difficult to create the coverage that you would need to get good quality SPF. I think you'd be better off applying a sunscreen first as your base, and then putting a powder over the top if you wanted to put some form of makeup over the top. I'm not convinced that that would be the right direction for us at this stage. I don't know
Yeah.
how. I don't know. Do they exist even SPF powders, like good quality ones?
That I like it that you're so oblivious to all the social media bullshit, that or the marketing bullshit, that you have no clue that SPF powders exist. Yes, they exist, and they're marketed heavily, and they cost a pretty penny, and they're like 3 grams a tube. So it's really outrageous. But I would say the same thing, that it's not going to give you any sun protection, or barely any, and it's not worth investing your money in an SPF powder, unless you want to use it in a cosmetic way, in a makeup sort of way, to, I don't know, set your SPF even more, or get rid of the glow that the SPF filters leave, but
Yeah. So
certainly not
actually,
for.
um, I know that you've probably got a stage in the interview to talk about new products, but actually, a new product that we are bringing out is a primer with SPF in.
Really? Are you joking, or is this like
No,
news?
seriously, we are. Um,
Great.
and that's going to come out quite soon. Actually, we've got it ready to go, and worked quite closely with a makeup artist in the UK to sort of try various different formulations, and she's really excited by this as a product. So there aren't primers out there with an SPF 50 5-star UVA
Yes.
for women who want to put their face on and then go out.
Yeah.
And up to now,
I'm guessing it's gonna be in terms of UVA protection, just as good as the rest of the
it will
SPFs.
be. It's going to be the top, the maximal UVA and UVB protection. So yeah, so we are bringing out a primer very soon, which yeah, I mean, you laughed at me for not being aware of social media trends. To be honest, I didn't even know that women would want to put a primer on before they put their makeup on as well. I mean, I'm not a makeup artist. I'm not a beautician. I'm a dermatologist. And
See, but you say that, and then you bring out anti-redness. That's one of the best CC creams out there in the universe. I would bet my heart on it. And then you tell me you don't know stuff about makeup. You brought out a very good makeup product that
well,
also
thank you.
doubles down as a excellent SPF product. So yes, people want this sort of specific makeup products that double down as sun protection with a really high value in terms of UVA and UV. But I interrupted you. Please go on.
No, no, that's fine. I maybe I'm doing myself a disservice here, but essentially, yeah, I mean, it's finding a need for different areas, and I mean, ultimately, my goal is to remove the barriers for using sunscreen and to provide different ways for people to use sunscreen to protect themselves. So, some people don't like using this sort of product, so we'll produce this sort of product. Some people want to wear this, so we'll produce that with an SPF in it. So this is another way of doing that. And yeah, I know you sort of talk about the anti-redness as being a great cosmetic product, but equally I see it as a dermatological product rather than as a cosmetic product.
Yeah.
But actually, you're right, it can be used as makeup, because I mean, my wife, amongst other people, and many others use the anti-redness as a foundation. So she used to use a very expensive Chanel foundation, but now she uses the anti-redness as her base in the mornings, because that then covers, because she grew up in South Africa and has got quite a lot of dyspigmentation on her face. So this blends that out really well. She doesn't have the redness, but actually, because it's got that pigment, it blends
Yeah.
that out. It gives her that base of SPF to reduce the pigmentation or reduce it getting worse. And then if she wants to top up with makeup over the top, then she can do that once it's set as well. So um, yeah, it does work very well as a makeup, as well as a cosmetic cover
Yeah.
up, as well as a actual active dermatological
It,
product too.
it's what makeup should be, it's what makeup should strive to be, but isn't, sadly. Like a product that does what it says it does. Like, it's a specific product. At the end of the day, it's a camouflaging makeup cosmetic
Yeah.
product, but it also has very high UVA that and blue light protection, so it covers all that melasma, sunspots, hyperpigmentation aspect of it, more even on top of sunburn protection and on top of color correction. So it's a dream, really.
And I
But
guess sorry, I was going to
no, no,
say
go on.
it sort of it continues with my ethos of actually your skincare regime should be straightforward and relatively simple. I mean, the uh, I just like roll my eyes at the idea of these sort of, I don't know how many steps is it some of these Korean skincare regimes have. I mean, I'm thinking
10
that's just a
steps.
marketing ruse, and it's like you don't need to, just keep it simple and put some
Yeah.
SPF on and you'll be fine.
Yeah. In terms of anti-redness, people have questions regarding and Andra and some others have asked about, and Christina as well, a lighter version or a light something for really fair skin, and that's also my issue in anti-redness. I'm happy to use it during the summer where I fake tan, or and it blends in beautifully. But during autumn and winter and spring, I don't tan, I don't fake tan, and it's really hard for me to use to make it blend, to achieve a seamless blend. And I would really want to get that technology behind anti-redness, of camouflaging, of giving an even tone to the skin, and not to mention the excellent UV protection. So, is it something that you're trying to achieve in the future, a different color shade?
Yeah, we've been trying for years to get it right. I've seen so many different um, samples, if you like, that have been formulated to try and make it work, but they've never been right. They the color just comes out. It would make you look yellow.
Yeah,
So trying to have the same efficacy, so the same effect as the current product, but in a lighter formulation, it's so difficult to formulate right. So what people have been doing who have the same issue as you is actually just blending it 50-50 with the
yeah,
SPF 50 cream or the face fluid, and then they find that that produces a lighter product. And
yeah.
to the ignorant person like me who's not a formulation scientist, you sort of like, well, why can't you just make it like that and it will then
And
work?
sell it like that, yeah.
But it's not as simple as that, unfortunately. And I mean, I hadn't realized just how specialized sunscreen formulation is. I mean, there are very few true experts in Europe who can do sunscreen formulation, and you can find what you might call white label manufacturers to manufacture most cosmetic type products, but actually to get someone to make good quality sunscreen and sun protection factor products is really hard. And so to yeah, it's something we really would like, but and we're still working on it. But
Please don't give up. Please.
I don't want to launch a product that's not good. So hopefully people appreciate the fact that when we actually launch something, it's something that I believe is going to be good and actually people will like, rather than just putting something out there and telling people to try and make them believe it's good, but it isn't. So yeah, we won't give up. We will get there eventually, I'm sure.
I know you will, because you've been working on it for so long. And there's two things I want to say before I move on to the next question. Just to remind people that there is a giveaway at the end of this live, and I would need them to comment what they would like to win. It's either Altruist best-selling set of products, or if they want to choose their products, either their favorites or something new that I want to test. So I need them to sign off in the comments. And I also want to remind them that each Altruist product, SPF product, has a very high UVA protection, maybe double the European average, and also water resistancy. So they need to understand that in order to achieve these factors of protection, the formula really needs to be very fine tuned, and that's why it's hard. And once you add anything like even an antioxidant or a filler or a pigment or anything of sort of that nature, it can throw off the balance, and you no longer achieve those high values when you test the product. So that's why I want people to understand that it's not just finding, putting some pigment, some lighter pigment in the fluid version of the Altruist sunscreen, and there you go, you have a lighter moisturizer for with the BB cream protection. It's so meticulous and so sensitive to anything you add or subtract, that it can throw off the whole thing. And I can vouch to what you said earlier, that after graduating from a master's in cosmetic formulation, it's mind-blowing how just different concentrations of even like how filters need stabilizers, extra stabilizers, and everything else that goes into formulating a product that has all those. People need to realize that at the end of the day, not all products are water resistant, have UV, have blue light protection, have a 55 UVA protection rating. Like these are also color correction and whatnot. So these are standards that not all cosmetic brands achieve throughout their ranges. So they need to remember that it's a hard, it's a difficult thing to achieve. And I'm really hoping that I know it's going, if anti-redness was a sign of how well cosmetic high SPF protection products will sell, a lighter shade version will just, you need to be prepared, because people are waiting for it. I know usually like UK and northern countries prefer a more tan version, a more something that gives the skin the illusion that it's been in the sun. But and this was the trend in the Balkans as well. But now people, I've at least the people that have been using SPF consistently throughout the last 3 or 4 years no longer want that tan, sun-kissed skin all the time. They are looking for something that's more in tune with their natural skin tone. So that's why I hope you will achieve the lighter shade sooner rather than later. But a girl can dream. Uh, I have another question. Yes. If Simona is asking about the SPF spray, if you are looking to maybe add a smaller version, like a to-go version for reapplying.
Well, actually, I don't know if you've had the same issues in Romania as we've had feedback in England on. Some people have found that the spray mechanism has not worked.
Yeah.
And
There's
so,
a question about that, about the spray mechanism. So yeah.
and we're trying to understand at the moment. I sent an email to our formulation scientist this morning, in fact. We're trying to understand why it's not worked, because we've had issues with the spray previously as well. And we reformulated it last year or the year before last, I can't remember which it was, to actually raise the UVA protection. And I don't think it's the fact that it's got the higher UVA protection that it's the problem, because I'm pretty sure that we had issues with the spray before we did the reformulation as well, but I can't remember the details of that. So whether it's that the nozzle is an issue, whether it's the propellant that's an issue, whether it's the actual formulation that's an issue, but I think we need to get the product right before we even contemplate doing different sizes, because as you can probably appreciate, it's not just the formulation that matters, but the products and the packaging matters as well. And since COVID, it's just been a nightmare. Everything has been difficult. I mean, the raw materials, actually getting hold of the raw materials is really hard. And our formulation team have been working unbelievably hard to just make sure that we don't run out. And we've already had to order all of our ingredients for 2024 now, because there's such a shortage worldwide, and the prices are going up as well. So the same goes for packaging as well. So we're really we're struggling to try and work out what the issue was with the spray. So you sometimes have to take whatever packaging you get to some degree. But equally, we don't want to have one that's not going to work. So no, I think the simple answer is no, we're not going to go for a lighter or smaller spray at the moment. We need to try and get the current spray working properly. So, and apologies to people who have struggled with that, but we're not sure why that's happened, but we're trying to work it out.
I have some feedback that I think you would appreciate. Firstly, I think what we've been trying to advise people in terms of using their current Altruist spray, and not only Altruist, every SPF spray that they have, is to make sure that they shake it really well. People have a tendency to just shake once or twice and then start using the product, and I've noticed that people don't shake it for at least a good 5 seconds is what I do, just to blend the product inside, and just to hear the little uh, ball inside that turns and makes the product more, there's a word in English, but it evades me right now. But people get it. Shake your SPF tubes well. And also, we've been telling people that acetone and isopropylic alcohol cleans and dissolves the residue on the nozzle very well, and allows people to start using it again, for the nozzle to disperse this product again. And from a cosmetic enthusiast slash tester point of view, I've tested maybe 5 or 6 SPF sprays this year, and I've had issues with all of them.
Oh, interesting.
Uh,
Well, it's
yeah.
so strange because I've used them all through the summer and I've not had a single problem. It's so strange.
Not with the altruist one, though. I haven't had a problem with the altruist one, just
Okay.
with other
Okay.
brands.
Right.
But maybe it's a raw material, raw packaging type of situation provider that it's that probably sells for multiple companies, and something happened along the way. But I think what you said about all the shortage and the raw material crisis during COVID, that continued very well on into the present times. It just leads to maybe, as you said, we need to have an SPF spray, even if it's not 100% perfect. We need to be able to deliver at least, and unfortunately having to sacrifice, not knowing who will receive maybe
Mm,
a faulty product to some extent. But yeah, I think the SPF spray, again, it's a well loved product in Romania, and I think everywhere, because
mm,
people sort of like the commodity. I don't know how easy it is to apply, and how fast it is to apply, really. But I think don't beat yourself up too much, because I've had products that cost 4 times as much as Altruist, and because I wanted to compare, but then again, there are people that have had this problem, and how do I go and tell them, hey, it doesn't matter, I use the Altruist spray and I didn't have that issue, so don't
mm,
complain.
mm,
So there is
yeah,
this issue. But I found that, again, these two things, shaking it well and using like acetone or isopropylic alcohol to dissolve the residue, and maybe give it a little bit of a longer shelf life, because maybe if it has a tendency to build up residue in the nozzle or whatnot, then it will probably do it again, because
mm,
something's faulty about the delivery system, or the nozzle itself, or how it connects
mm.
to the tube or whatnot. So yeah. My next question would be about octocrylene, because it's one of the things that I mentioned in the beginning, about it's a subject that comes around from time to time, and Marina is asking if you would consider eliminating it totally from all your SPF products, or and my continuation of this question is, what's your general view about octocrylene, and what would you advise people, think about this UV filter?
Okay. Well, I mean, my overall opinion is that it is a very effective UV filter. It has the added benefit that it stabilizes avobenzone as well. So it is actually a workhorse of UV protection. If you don't want to put octocrylene into a product, it will invariably make it more expensive because you have to have other filters to compensate for it and potentially put more of them in. I also would very much rely on the Committee for Cosmetic Safety from Europe to guide on what is safe and what is not. And they consistently review the evidence that's out there. And at the moment, their statements are very much that octocrylene is safe in the concentrations that it's used. So my personal view is that with anything in science, you can't say categorically it is definitely safe or it is definitely unsafe. You just have to go with what the current understanding is at the time. And my current understanding, and that I think of the overall industry body and the scientists involved, is that it is a safe product. However, it is interesting that how social media and media in general can influence the market now. 20 years ago, this wouldn't happen. It would be very much the industry makes a product and they sell it and the public buy it. But now, thanks to social media, the population, or certainly a section of the population, are actually interested in what goes into the product and they're interested in the ingredients. And so people who have got a very passionate opinion can actually keep on making that opinion, and it starts to become what you might regard as people regarding it as being factual. And so other people start asking, can you make octocrylene-free products? And then the industry hears this and starts making octocrylene-free products and actually starts labeling octocrylene-free on their products, which of course reinforces the belief that there might be an issue. So there seems to be a trend in the industry to be making more products that are octocrylene-free. And in fact, we have some octocrylene-free products now as well. But I think if we were going to make products that were all octocrylene free, then we would probably end up having to put our prices up. It would have to be a reformulation. And I think it would be, to some degree, a marketing decision rather than a scientific decision.
Yeah. I think, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that most of the people who are looking into octocrylene free products are actually people who find that products containing this UV filter have a tendency to get into their eyes more often and itch or burn or sting. I know there are a lot of people that look into the whole natural versus synthetic and endocrine disruptor and all that, but we've covered it. And as you said, there's a reason, there's a concentration limit, and there is monitorization of this UV filter for its use in Europe and so on. But many people have found they could use the family spray product a lot better around the eyes, where both skin cancer appear a lot often and signs of photoaging appear a lot often. And it's because we have a tendency to avoid that areas because it can SPF can sting if it gets into the eye. So,
yes, so if someone wants to use a more facial dedicated product with which will be octocrylene free, the primer will actually that we're bringing out will be a octocrylene free as well. So you can see how that works as well.
Yeah. Fortunately for me, I haven't had much issue with stinging eyes because of octocrylene. Of course, it's like you would think that people would make sense of the fact that if a product gets into your eyes, it doesn't matter if it's a SPF or a face cream or a serum, it can sting and it can burn, of course. But it can be that some people are or they, I don't know, maybe they have oilier skin, or they have the tendency to perspirate a lot, and therefore it doesn't matter how water resistant the product is, some of it will eventually seep and get into the in their eyelashes, and that's basically in their eye, and it starts stinging. And a lot of people have said this, that they use a different product or family Altruist spray around the eyes, and the cream or the antioxidant fluid for the rest of the face and neck and whatnot. So it's great news that the primer is octocrylene free in that sense. But I want to reiterate that it's not something that you need to avoid at all costs, because again, it has so many other benefits. And if you happen to be one of those 95% that haven't got a problem with or a sensitivity to that UV filter, then you can easily just continue using the products that contain it, and save some money, and end up using a very well formulated product that protects you and offers you even some little benefits, extra benefits outside the purely sun protection, just to and people want new products, people want updated products, but people also want cheap products. So they have, something's got to give when it comes to prioritizing some types of filters over others. So but if you manage to formulate a primer that is octocrylene free, has great UV protection, and also costs less than the average, then I think a lot of people would be happy. Of course, you would have all the women wearing makeup on a daily basis very happy about this launch, octocrylene free or not. So that's a win. But I also have a question about the SPF range in general. People have been asking if it's okay to use the products, especially the SPF products, from like infancy. Or I know it's a question that we covered, but I want you to maybe say a few words about using what age is appropriate to start using the
So
SPF product.
I can understand the question, and it's about, to some degree, I can give you the official answer, and then I can give you the answer from a dermatologist/scientist. So the official answer is that babies should not be put in the sun. You shouldn't put children in the sun. The family sun spray can be used from 6 months. The other products, the sunscreen products, the normal sunscreen, is safe from 2 years.
Okay.
Now, the dermatologist/scientific answer is you need to balance the risks versus the benefits. If you've got a child and they are going to be in the sun, it's probably safer that they put sunscreen on than not, because
Yeah.
they might burn, and if they burn, they could end up with skin cancer when they're older. However, of course, you should be aiming to not put your small child or baby in the sun, because the issue is that when children are very, very small, babies, their skin barrier isn't fully formed yet. And so therefore, there is a higher risk that they're going to absorb the ingredients. Also, the surface area to volume ratio, this is becoming a
Yeah.
bit more scientific now, but the actual surface area of the baby is, you've got a greater surface area compared to the actual volume of the child. Whereas if you're
Yeah.
an adult, you've got, it's less. And so therefore, the relative amount that baby's going to absorb is going to be greater compared to an adult, even if the absorption was the same. So
Yeah.
therefore, you shouldn't be applying as much, and you shouldn't be applying stuff to baby's skin that could be absorbed. hence the advice: don't put babies in the sun, and you shouldn't be using it in younger children. But as I said earlier, you need to strike that balance, because if a child is going to be in the sun all day, you don't want them to burn. And so therefore you need to say, well, okay, on this occasion, I'm going to put the sun cream on them,
Yeah,
because they create that protection. But that's where UV protective clothing comes in. And if I was going to do that, my children have grown up a bit more now, but certainly with my kids when they were that age, and this was pre-Altruist, so we were using whatever products we got at that stage, but they would be wearing a sunsuit if they were out in the sun, so down to the wrists and onto down to their ankles, or at least to their thighs,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and then the remaining bits would have sun cream put on, and I would not be worrying that they're going to be absorbing it, because you're not going to be spending well, I'm sure there was one or two people who probably spend every day at the beach, but we certainly didn't spend
yeah.
every single day at the beach. And you just got to strike that balance between working out you're balancing risks in life all the time, and this is another example of that.
Yeah. I think I know people that live in more, uh, people that live in places like Spain or Portugal or Greece or whatnot. They tend to spend a lot more time in the sun, and they have sun and intense UV index more often than people in Romania or UK and so on. And I think that's something that they need to consider a lot more often than we would need to, in terms of how to protect your child
Yeah.
from the sun, or having to go outside in the sun with your child, because someone in Spain, like for example in end of September, it can will need to apply sunscreen on their 1 year old, versus someone from London that would only pray that they would have some sun in order to to go and get some sunscreen to apply. The same moment in time, but different geographical occasion that imply different decisions in terms of what they apply
I
to their
completely understand, because we lived in South Africa for a year, in Durban, which is a subtropical climate, and our daughter was between the ages of 2 and 3 at that stage. So I do get it. It's but you make the best use of other hats, sunglasses, and
yeah,
clothing as much
yeah.
as you possibly can.
And shade of any kind, like really try to implement a behavioral change in your
Exactly.
daily decisions,
Because this
because you
and
can't
actually
rely on sunscreen alone.
and the other thing, of course, is to bear in mind that the UV index changes, the amount of UV changes dramatically throughout the course of the day. So if you can avoid being out in the sun between, say, 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, the amount of
Yeah,
UV will be less if you are there earlier in the morning and later in the afternoon. So with our young one, when we lived there, we would go to the beach at 5 o'clock in the evening,
yeah,
or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so
yeah,
that would be massively reducing the risk, as opposed to going to the beach at 1 o'clock and
yeah,
sitting there in bright sunshine in the sea, because your risk is
yeah.
higher.
I have another question in regards to when we apply, or what age we should be applying Altruist products, and it's about the non-SPF range. What age do we start using, or can we start using the urea products, the hand cream, the lotion?
I sus- I'm not 100% sure of the answer to that question, but I mean, the safest answer would be to say probably from the age of 2,
Yeah,
because pretty much anything from the age of 2 is fine.
yeah.
Um, I I don't know. The honest answer is I don't know the official answer to that question, but I would say it's certainly safe from 2.
Yeah. We've been telling people that actually as well, because how we motivated our answer or backed our answer up was with the fact that ingredients such as urea and glycerin and whatnot are, or precursors to ceramides, etc., are things present in all of, baby and kid formulas all around, in every cosmetic brand that offers baby ranges. So it is a safe ingredient for even for very young children, because but then again, of course formulations matter at the end of the day, and concentrations matter. But from my knowledge, 6% and 10% are and less are concentrations used on in everyday wash and leave on products for kids 6 months onwards, is what of course we've been telling people to use Altruist products from 2 years old. But how we went about our, bringing arguments in favor of the safety of using it for younger kids is that there isn't any data to support that it can be bad for them. So
Exactly. Exactly.
it's quite the opposite, that it's actually beneficial for their skin health.
Yeah, I have to be careful, because obviously I am sort of representing Altruist, so I have to sort of toe the party line in the official line, but equally you can be pragmatic as well. Christine, I have noticed the time, and I think
Yeah,
we could chat all night by the sounds of it, but I'm
yeah,
conscious of the fact that my family are wanting me to join them for dinner as well. So
yeah.
I don't need to necessarily cut you off this moment, but are there any other burning questions that you wanted to ask before we finished, so we can get them out
Yeah.
of the way and done? So I don't want you to leave feeling like you've not asked them.
I actually left the most burning question for last, and it's not about SPFs or filters. It's again about the cosmetic aspect of Altruist, and a lot of people, including me, are actually waiting for a designated makeup remover from Altruist. And
Okay.
I'm going to mention two arguments. Now that you are launching the primer, I think it goes without saying that it complements that product as well. But people have been using Altruist consistently, and they love the fact that it's water resistant. And in my experience as well, it's hard for a water-based cleanser to properly cleanse and eliminate all the filters in the nooks and crannies. E- Even if when we add makeup on top, it gets even more difficult. So a lot of studies show that a designated makeup remover can dissolve the filters better, and without affecting the pH so much, without involving that stripping action of a water-based cleanser or a foaming cleanser. So my question for you for last is, when will we see a makeup remover from Altruist?
And by a makeup remover, do you mean an oil-based cleanser? Is that what you mean by that? Or
Yes, because it's been trending so much, and because, in my opinion, it has scientific data to support that type of formulation. But in general, I don't think people would mind a different formulation. I know a milk, an emulsion, or any type of a micellar water. But overall, the tendency is for an oil-based cleanser. Yes.
Mhm. Okay, I will take that back to the team and share it with them. It's probably the best way of saying that. I mean, I quite like the foam cleansers. I think they're a very efficient cleaning thing, but equally, I don't wear much makeup, so or in fact, I don't wear makeup. But I do wear sunscreen, and I mean, to me, it feels like my skin is very nicely cleaned after using it. But I appreciate it's a very different uh,
It can
experience.
be, because we, especially people with melasma or sunspots, or people that now use active ingredients in their day-to-day routine, like AHA exfoliants or retinol, they become so much more aware of the photosensitivity and the photoreactivity of the skin when they use products. So they tend to reapply more, which is great, and they need to reapply more. So that's what we found, that a water-based cleanser isn't. It's too. Rather to say it's too stripping, or it involves a double cleansing, double step, or not necessarily double step, using the product twice to achieve what the end result, which is cleaning off or cleansing off all the filters and also the makeup. But then again, we have the primer and we have the anti-redness that are double down as very nice makeup products. So of course, the majority of people who are going to use the primer and the CC cream are going to be makeup users. So please take that into consideration. So I know maybe you didn't expect me to to lobby so much for the cosmetic and makeup part of things, but people actually, that's been the overall feedback from
Yeah,
the members
and
of
I
our
can
community.
understand how that could be a natural evolution if we are bringing out a primer as well. So we when I next get together with the formulation team, I can sort of have a conversation and say, is it possible? Can we do it?
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe
maybe.
look into, that type of oil cleanser that goes well for face and body and can be used, for shower as well. I mean, we like a multitasking product as much as any other,
I
skin
would love.
enthusiast.
To be fair, I would love to have an oil-based shower oil. Um, and we did a while ago. Looked, or I thought we were going to bring one out, but then I can't remember what the issue was with it. But there was a problem with the formulation,
Living
and
approach.
it then got parked whilst we did other things. So perhaps we'll have to reopen that that section of development at some point. But as you can appreciate, we're a small team, so we can't do everything all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to thank you once again for accepting our invitation and for being so lovely about answering all my pesky questions. And we need to have these lives more often, because it's been an hour and a half and 50 people or so have been connected to our live constantly for an hour and a half now. So that just goes to show that people really want to listen to the answers to their questions and what you have to say. So maybe we should make these lives a little bit more, have them more a little bit more often, if you would so graciously agree with our request, because people really want to hear you out.
Fine. Yes. No, I get the impression we could keep on chatting forever. So yes, I'm sure we'll find something to talk about. But yeah,
Right.
thanks very much for having me, and thank you to all of those people who have watched and stayed watching. And yeah, carry on supporting us. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I can't wait to see the new launch, and keep in touch and have a lovely evening. Thank you so much, doctor.
Bye bye.